All right, welcome back, guys. We are
Welcome.
unfortunately talking about Brittney Griner. She got 9 years
hmm
for possession of marijuana in a foreign country.
And I think it was actually like point 0.7 or something like that. It was pretty much like not even marijuana. It was
It was
a
vape
can of it was
pens.
it was cannabis oil cartridge, like
Yeah,
0.7 grams. So
like I mean, first and foremost, we already know. I mean,
let's
I'm
just
gonna
let's just
say,
watch the video.
I mean, I'm gonna say with all these tensions going on, that was just kind of like a shady move. But we'll see what O'Shea has to say.
It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of the Celebrity Junk. Guys, I want to talk about Brittney Griner, okay? And again, I've taken some interesting positions on Brittney Griner being in Russia and her being convicted for 9 years into the prison. You know, this whole thing with smuggling drugs and all that. I really don't know what to believe now. I was thinking that it was a setup, and then she admitted that she did something, and then I just don't know. I don't know what happened. Okay, I really don't know if she's guilty or innocent. I can't tell. I just know that just comes at an interesting time when the United States is backing Ukraine. So I do know that. That's what I can confirm. However, I want to talk about NBA players being blamed, okay, for not standing up for Brittney Griner. Okay? That's what I want to deal with here. People are blaming NBA players for not stepping up to the bat. So now here's what I want to talk about today, okay? Because we are in a system of where many women say they don't need men, okay? Women say that they don't need masculinity. And I want to even read a statement that Miss Griner put. I want to apologize to my teammates, my club, my fans in the city for my mistake that I made and the embarrassment I brought on them. I want to apologize to my parents, my siblings, the Phoenix Mercury organization back at home, the amazing women in the NWNBA, and my amazing spouse at home. So clearly this is admitting some sort, okay, of embarrassment. Yet, you are asking NBA players, blaming them for not stepping up for her when you have this particular admittance of guilt from Brittney Griner. But I thought y'all didn't need men. Okay? Brittney Griner is, and we're going to be real, in a lesbian marriage. Okay? Brittney Griner is an adult. She takes care of her wife as if a man would take care of his wife. She is owning up to the consequences of whatever she felt that she did wrong. Yet, you blame the men of the NBA for not stepping up for her. When LeBron James made the call, NBA players have said this is wrong, but you're looking for another reason to blame men, the same men that many of the same ladies say that y'all don't need. The same men that y'all don't even have any respect for. But now y'all want protection from these men in the NBA when clearly, let me tell you this, women have every opportunity to make the WNBA the same thing as the NBA.
Which we talked about.
Why y'all not asking for the WNBA players to step up? Oh, okay, because the NBA has all the fans, right? Okay, when you go to WNBA games, as good as those players are and talented as those WNBA players are, guess what you'll see? Empty seats. Why? Women don't go to those games. You even had NBA players that are bigging up the WNBA players more than they do. Kobe Bryant was a staunch supporter of women's basketball. Many men are. When the WNBA, when you look at women and their economy, what they spend money on is greater than men's. You don't see women at the WNBA games. You don't see them making a sellout. You want to know why? Because women are not interested in that as much so as they are in the NBA.
And let's just, I posted that, if you guys follow the Solomon's Crown Facebook page, it's Solomon's Crown, just like the name on our YouTube page. And we have the link in the description below.
Mm-hmm.
But I posted that, what was it? I can't even remember now, but pretty much it was pretty much saying that women in the WNBA don't make as much as men. But then the question is, or the real facts of it is, women don't support the WNBA like men support the NBA. And then on top of that, when men go to like sports games and stuff like that, most of the time, if they have a female or they have a spouse or something like that, they'll support the man in that sport instead of just being like, hey, like, let's go to a WNBA or a women's soccer game. Low key, the women's soccer is better than the men's. So like low key, I feel like they should be getting paid more, but truthfully, it should be based off of like win rate and stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
the men's soccer gets paid more and they literally lose. And then the women's soccer, I think it was 3 years ago, they won the World Cup. And they didn't, I mean, they got maybe a little bit of bump in pay raise, but it's not anything compared to men. And on top of that, we've seen them talk about like women will not be paid as much in sports in general. And I mean, the reasoning I think behind it is they just don't make enough money in general. And that's another thing, like he's saying, is like women spend more than men do most of the time. But they're not spending it
on sports and stuff.
Yeah, they're not spending it on sports events. They're not interested in going and watching women play basketball. It's a very small majority who actually enjoy women's basketball. I mean, my sister played basketball, and I would go and watch her games, and like, they're not bad. So I don't see why. I mean, low key, some of these females play better than the men's basketball because they stick to the fundamentals. They don't have all the power and speed that they have to, so they have to stick to fundamentals. So like low-key, women's basketball is more entertaining to watch than men's at times. Because if you watch the NBA now, it's just superstars doing superstar stuff. Like, they don't rebound, they don't box out, they don't do a lot of things. But let's get back to it.
Yeah, I don't know any of that.
Yeah, I mean, I just watch sometimes. I'm not like a sports fanatic or anything like that, but I watch sports when I can. I used to play basketball.
So now, when you have the opportunity to make yourself a force, it's not happening. But then you want to blame these guys. The men in the NBA had nothing to do with what happened with Brittney Griner. Okay? In fact, I believe that they supported her. Many NBA players feel bad for what happened to her. But you don't want to blame the government. If anything, what about Joe Biden? Okay? Why would you blame the... And it's so funny because y'all don't want to put the blame where the blame is at. Either it's on her or it's on it's on the government for not getting it done. Why do you want to blame black NBA players? I'll tell you why you want to blame black NBA players, because black men is to blame for everything.
Yeah.
Even when it's women who are in relationships with other women, y'all want to find a way to blame black men. When black men, Brittney Griner don't have no husband. In fact, many of the players that she probably looked up to were men. Her friends are men in the NBA. But now y'all want to say that the men are the problem. That's weak. Every time something bad happens and men don't have nothing to do with it, here y'all come blaming black men. It is pathetic, guys. Stop. Stop already. Let's say, for example, LeBron James gets locked up somewhere else. Let's say Russia. Okay? Should he ever say that that women or WNBA or women's groups don't lobby for him to get in? Never. See, a lot of women want protection from the same men that y'all disrespecting for every day out here in these streets. And it's not just a African American thing; it's American thing. You want protection from the same men that you dislike. How are you ladies doing this? You ladies don't like these men. You disrespect some of them. You talk about how men are oppressing you. Okay, so the men become completely disinterested, let's say, for example, in what you're talking about, what you're doing. So men just say, okay, I'm gonna leave it alone. Then you want to blame the men when they don't help you, when they don't want to use their things, which is a lie, because they did. So which is it? Either you want to be under the protection of men or you don't. If you don't, then you gotta deal with the consequences as if you also were a man, okay? But this is what they don't want to do. They don't want to deal with that. You know, a lot of women want to disrespect the men that they want to help them. Okay, so, all right, bail us out, men, so we can come back and not give you anything ever again. Doesn't make any sense, guys. Doesn't make any sense.
Yo, does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Because that sounded like 3 times 3 times 3 is 9.
Oh my God, bro.
No. All right. And I feel sorry for the young lady. I do. But listen, men don't have nothing to do with this at all. In my honest opinion, a lot of the NBA athletes did their due diligence with trying to help her get out. Y'all blame LeBron. Y'all blame Tom Brady.
Damn, they blame
why
Tom
y'all just
Brady?
can't put the blame where it needs to be? On her or on Biden? Everybody but the person that's involved in it. Blaming black NBA players is weak. It's weak. But guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson.
All right. I mean, that was very enlightening.
I mean, I look at it this way. It's really shitty that she's getting 9 years for that, but I think people have to understand, especially Americans and especially Americans with clout, is that yeah, America is the most powerful country in the world, and we do have a lot of benefits, but when you go to another sovereign country, especially a country that's been at odds with America since what, the 40s, the 50s, you probably should make sure you do your due diligence in what's a no-go and what's a go in that country. I mean, as former military, and as military, like, you get briefings about what you should and shouldn't do in certain countries, especially when you go to the Middle East and whatnot. And like some of these countries, they don't play when it comes down to drugs. It doesn't matter if it's like 0.7 or whatever, or if it's,
Bro, you could have a
THC oil.
nug.
You could have, and that's a death penalty. Like some countries in the Middle East is like straight up, like you have drugs, that's a death penalty, like no cap. So
They'll cut your hand off.
no, they'll kill you. They will execute you.
But I'm saying you can get your hand cut off or stealing
too,
and shit
yeah.
like that still. Like, that's the thing, is like a lot of people they take for granted. It's like, oh, America's so shitty. America's this, and that. It's like, all right, go out of America. Go to Africa, go to Middle East, go to any of these places. Russia, like, and do something stupid. Do some shit that you would do in America. Like,
you're done, bro.
I don't even know. I mean, Americans do so many like wild and crazy things. Like, it's not even like funny. It's like that quarantine shit. Like, let's talk about that. So when they had quarantine in Germany, they had a curfew at 10 o'clock. They were literally like fining people. Like, you could get taken to jail, like, in general, for just being out. Meanwhile, in America, it's like, oh, curfew. Now we outside. We want to party. We want to do this. We want to do that. It's like, y'all are literally passing around COVID, like, as if it's willy-nilly, just not even giving like any cares in the world about anybody. Because when that happened, everybody was just kind of like, oh, well, if somebody catches it because of me, then that's their own fault. It's like, okay, I have COVID. I give it to somebody's aunt. She dies. Oh, that's her fault for having a weak immune system. It's like, no, bro, that's your fault for being at a party last weekend, catching COVID, not being responsible, and giving it to her. And that's the thing is like, you know, I mean, I could go on all day about all this stuff. I mean, we've lived outside the country, so we see the big differences. And the thing about Americans are they're so like they think they're above the law at times. Like,
self-centered a lot of the times.
and it's like that's not how it is. That's not how it works. And that shows me that a lot of people have not traveled outside of the country and been out of the country for a while, because it's just like with this whole situation with Brittney Griner, like it's her own fault. She has to take responsibility for it. At the end of the day, there's nobody to blame but herself. To say that, okay, Biden should have did more to get her out, like it's not really up to him. Like on top of that, so one, with the whole Ukraine stuff, like, yeah, like it's a whole political thing going on between countries in general right now.
Mm-hmm.
So she did it at the wrong time, one. Two, it's not just like, yo, you got one of our Americans, bro, like, let me get her back. Like, as much as you would want to think that, and maybe in peace times, maybe in like, okay, like, hey, we caught somebody at the trying to come into the country with this and that, or trying to leave the country, blah, blah. Yo, take them. Yeah. But right now, it's a lot going on. Let's just say that.
Hold on.
So her timing was horrible in general. Like, if this would have happened like maybe 5 years ago, yeah, cool. It probably would have been like, yo, like she got stopped at security. We're just going to hand her off to America. We're going to take the substance and stuff like that. But even at one point, I think I was going to, where was I going? I think I was coming back home to visit, and some dude actually had a knife in his bag. And coming out of Germany, going through security, they were just like, hey, yo, you're about to miss your flight. And he's like, oh, y'all can't just take the knife, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, no, like, you came through security with a knife, bro. Like, that's not okay. Like, you're going to have to talk to some people, this, and that. And of course, he's American, and he's just like, I don't see what the big deal is. Like, yo, just take the knife. And it's like, I forgot it. It's like, we're going to find out. And they, of course, took him off, probably investigated him, all this other stuff. So it's like, when we're in other countries, and that's another thing too, is
in
like,
other people's countries, bro.
When we're in other people's countries, people like to think like, oh, well, I'm American, so like I can do whatever I want. It's like, oh, it's not that serious. It's like, in this country, it is that serious. Like,
exactly.
Period. Like, so that's all. That's the 2 cents I got to say. But I mean, it sucks that the situation happened. At the end of the day, yeah, you can't blame NBA players, and everybody tried to have the argument about, oh, if it was LeBron stuck over there, then it would be different. It wouldn't.
No.
It literally wouldn't. Like, maybe people would be like, hey, let me get your autograph. It's LeBron James. But first off, why would LeBron James put himself in that situation?
So, to give her the benefit of the doubt, because NBA, WNBA doesn't get paid that much, a lot of these players, they go elsewhere to make up during their off season. But yeah, I don't think LeBron James, the clout and money that he has, would even need to go over there. And even if he wanted to, he wouldn't put himself in that situation.
Yeah. And on top of that, it's like she's a professional athlete on top of that. So she shouldn't be, I mean, maybe things have changed, but she shouldn't be partaking in.
So again, in her defense, that cartridge was allegedly prescribed by a doctor for chronic pain in her leg. So
all right then.
But in the same breath, I've heard where like people would take certain medications, like, in the military, especially in Japan, they said like you can't go to certain pharmacies and get certain things because it's a no-go here.
Yeah.
Or like sometimes if you have a condition and doctors will ask like, are you going to travel in the next whatever?
Yeah.
And you'd be like, oh, I want to travel to Italy. And it'd be like, you can't take this. You got to change a prescription. Yeah. So it's like people just need to be aware of the surroundings, bro.
And they tell you that stuff when you do stuff like that. Even before you travel, it'll be like, you cannot travel with these substances, like, because we have to pretty much read all of the entries to the countries, like all their regs and all this other stuff, like all their laws whenever we travel for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things. It's kind of like one of those things where, okay, she didn't know and it just happened, but it just goes to show that like not knowing something doesn't make you exempt from laws
The
and
laws.
reality. Like we said before, like we've been blurring the lines between like what's good and what's not good. Like we can't, okay, say everything's gravy in America, like you can do whatever you want, this and that, but that's not the same in Italy, that's not the same in Spain, that's not the same in China, that's not the same in Russia, that's not the same in Germany. America has its own things going on, and then there's other countries that are
Countries
just
that,
like,
yeah, they have their own
yo,
thing.
I don't care what America's doing, we're not doing that. Like, so
Facts. So
I mean,
it's unfortunate. Hopefully,
I'm sure. I mean, I'm not saying 100% sure, but she'll probably be in prison for like 2 or 3 years, and then something will happen, and then they'll be like, okay, let's get her out.
well, the other
They'll probably
contention
appeal it.
is, well, it's not even that. The other contention is why it's super political is not necessarily only because of the Ukraine war, but I think America has a very infamous arms dealer that's nicknamed the Merchant of Death, literally, because he's so prolific in arming all these other countries with Russian weapons and whatnot, and
Mhm.
America has him, so they're trying to haggle Griner for
Bro,
him.
there ain't no way. Like,
I mean, with this
I mean, maybe for
administration,
LeBron, like,
yeah,
yeah,
for
like,
this administration, yeah, they
yeah,
probably would do it.
well-known arms dealer
Because
out in the street.
either way, it's gonna be an L because the LGBT community is gonna be like, yo, like,
You don't care
Biden didn't
about
do anything.
us,
Yeah,
this and that.
exactly.
He's not
And
going to
if
get revoted.
yeah, and if he does do it, it's like you're literally freeing a dude that's probably responsible for millions of people dying. So
Yeah, but I mean, people's feelings and stuff, and one American is worth millions of people. So
yeah,
is it hot in here?
hell is hot, bro. Wow.
It's hitting. Oh, let's get hot in here. But until next time, peace.
Peace.